All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got so much to do. So we really wanted to do this so that your organization will be top of mind as we begin this beautiful day, and it is a beautiful day outside. And so we really wanted you to think about your organization, you know, how long you've been there, the people you work with, the highlights, the lowlights, because today is about you and your organization. And my name's Jim Ains. I'm with High Five Media. I'm also with the Ed Lynch Estate, and I'm the Vice President of Identity Clark County, which is a business advocacy group in downtown Vancouver. And on my spare time, I do want to clear up that baby van comment. I have a minivan because I have a 17-month-old baby. And so I'm so used to, it's a new experience for me.
We wanted to clarify that it's not just a van that he goes around collecting babies.
Correct. So I just want to say that, make that clear. So with High Five Media, I work on kind of the strategy side. We run a lot of campaigns, whether with nonprofits, small businesses, and of course, we're kind of known for the whole political thing. So we run a lot of political campaigns. And right next to me is the one and only.
I'm Temple Lentz. Hi, everybody. I'm like, I got to check the name to see what it is. So I'm also with High Five Media. We also have a third partner, Nolan Hoshino. And he wasn't able to join us. He's our graphics guy. Jim does our strategy and campaigns. I do content and writing. Nolan is our graphics guy. So we wanted to let you know the slideshow that's coming up. Nolan wasn't available to design it for us.
So you'll see why Nolan is our designer.
Yeah, you'll see that we have our silos, and we're going to experience sort of like a business training slideshow from 1996. I think is pretty much what we're going to see.
Easily.
So do as we say, not as we do. But yeah, I work with High Five Media. I do all of our content writing, all of that sort of work for marketing campaigns for nonprofits, for political candidates. In some of our spare time, I also host the widely acclaimed local talk show. The most popular local talk show in all of Vancouver, also the only one, called Hello Vancouver, which has also recently expanded to radio, so you can also hear us on 107.1 on Thursday afternoons at 12:30. And then I also work with Cascade Sotheby's International Realty and do some nonprofit fundraising consulting on the side, and all of that voluminous spare time that I have. So we're really happy to be here. We've worked with the Community Foundation on Give More 24 for the last couple of years. We were really excited to get in and help on the ground floor in the very first year, do some training. What we do is communications with nonprofits, political candidates, small businesses throughout the community. And we really love Give More 24. It's an incredible thing that is we're still kind of figuring it out as we go. So it's really exciting to see all of you here. And we're going to be talking as we go through the day about your organizations, what you do, and how we can help you bring your story to the community and make the most of your Give More 24 experience.
That is correct. And to kick us off, we'd like you guys to pull out a piece of paper, white, lined, it doesn't matter. And we'd like you to, let's see, do we have that little slide?
Yes, we have some very explicit directions.
This is really cool. So we'd like you to draw like a little plus on the slide. And
4 quadrants.
Yep, there we go. And on the top quadrant, put target audience, communication channels. Down at the bottom, key messages and communication tools, which I just learned they're different than channels.
And what we're going to be doing with this first session here, we are going to be splitting into 3 different sessions. We'll still have the breaks in between. But because you guys are stuck with us the entire time, we're going to kind of flow back and forth. And a lot of this all affects each other. Like our middle section is storytelling, and we'll talk about that more in depth, but we're also going to talk about it a little bit here, because the story you're going to tell affects how you're going to plan your campaign, et cetera, et cetera. It's all interrelated. It's this microcosm that all works together. So before you even start about your campaign plan for Give More 24, you kind of need to have a sense of what you're doing, who you're going to be talking to, what is going on. So up in that upper left quadrant is target audience. So what we're hoping you can do is, as we're talking, as you think about it, write down who you think, for Give More 24 specifically, not your organization as a whole, but for this event that's coming up in September, who's your target audience? And if you write down, in the world of nonprofits, there are no wrong answers. We're all good. We all get a gold star, except if you write down everyone, you've written down the wrong thing. So don't write down everyone. A target audience is a specific segment. So, for 24 specifically, think about who it is that you're going to be trying to talk to. That could be current donors. That could be new people who have just joined your list. It could be people who have never heard of your organization before and you want to bring them in. Millennials, older folks. With Give More 24, which is an entirely online system, I would suggest perhaps leaning more toward millennials than seniors. But actually, seniors are a growing online audience. So you could figure out how to target folks who are living on Facebook, who do use email a lot. So think about that. Do you have any questions specifically about whether or not what you're thinking is a target audience? We're pretty question friendly, so feel free to throw up a hand as we're going through.
All right, communication channels. So, actually, we want you though to take a moment, as Temple said, and as we're going through this, write down for you, that target audience, and then same with communication channels. What communication channels do you think are going to work for Give More 24? And so we're not going to get in depth to the tools, but let's just talk about the channels for a moment. Social media, email blasts, websites, blogs, events and programs, how to communicate as part of your fundraising cycle. This is an important one that we've noticed over the years now that Give More 24 has been going strong in the last few years. Organizations are working the message of Give More 24 into their yearly giving schedule. For example, there's events in October, maybe it's a fundraising gala that an organization's putting on. And in their program, they're already promoting Give More 24 for the coming year. If you have a meeting with all of your donors, or maybe it's your annual meeting for your nonprofit, that is the prime opportunity to promote Give More 24. Don't just do it for the, right now until September. You want to incorporate that into the entire year. The other part is your board of directors. That's a huge channel, and sometimes that's kind of underutilized. So really work with your board of directors, talk to them about messaging, mailers, little postcards. Of course, your executive director, they're going to be the mouthpiece and the focus for your campaign. And finally, local media. And our local media, of course, is the Columbian. But as Temple mentioned, we do have now radio and other avenues that are starting to grow here locally in Clark County. So take a moment and write down what communication channels you think you will use or that you're planning to utilize for Give More 24. And as Temple mentioned, we'll be coming back and forth to this paper throughout the day.
And as you're doing, something that Jim said, and we'll kind of bounce around and have some, so there was an aside that I was reminded by something he said about using the entire year to promote Give More 24. Over the last few years, one of the biggest comments that I've heard talking with nonprofits, and actually I'm former executive director of the Parks Foundation of Clark County, and when I was working there, we also dealt with this. This was a struggle we had, which was you've got your entire year plan, and then Give More 24 comes, and it's this extra thing. Often, fall is a very busy season for gala dinners. It's the tail end of golf tournament season. There's a lot of other things going on. And early on, a lot of the questions were, how do I fit this in? How do I also do Give More 24? And what we're starting to see now, and we highly recommend it if your organization hasn't started to do it, is starting to think of Give More 24 as a part of your entire fundraising plan for the year. So rather than this extra thing, figure out how it can really supplement the other things that you're doing and not take away from your donor base, not take away from your end of year appeal or any other work that you're doing, but how it can really become a fundamental part of it and maybe help you reach a different audience or use a different communication channel than you have already been using. The next quadrant is key messages. So we will also get more into this in storytelling, but as you're developing your plan, think about what you want to communicate about your organization. Whether that is, if you're using Give More 24 to fundraise for a very specific thing, we need to raise money to buy a van, or we are supporting this specific program that we do. or it's overall operating expenses, and here's what we do and why it's so important. When you think about your key messages for the Give More 24 campaign, also think about who it is you're trying to reach and what messages might resonate with them. If you are talking to largely millennials, think about what may resonate with them. There's a lot of research coming out, and there's a lot of millennials in the room. And isn't it weird to be talked about as a category? I'm more Generation X, and it was super weird, although we were kind of the ones, you know, we sort of developed the navel gazing of giving yourself a name and talking about it. But there's a lot of research that millennials are very interested in committing to the cause, that it isn't necessarily about the esteem of giving money, especially because many of us don't have a whole lot of it. But it's less about being a donor and more about really contributing to something that's meaningful, that you find personal connection with. So think about that if you're trying to target that audience. What messages are going to resonate with them? And for you filling out your list, maybe just think about the top 3 things that you would want to communicate in your Give More 24 campaign. Again, you can't tell everybody about every amazing and awesome thing your organization does because there just isn't time. So think about what are the top 3 highlights that you would want to communicate during this time.
All right, communication tools. So now we're going to take the communication channels and we're going to get a little bit more detailed. Facebook, right, still in Clark County, #1 social media site. It's still growing locally, and it's actually growing into the older demographics. It's the place to be, really, to reach a very wide range. Facebook, you have to pay to play. We talked about this, hopefully they talked about this last week. That's so important that you've got to budget aside funds to advertise, to boost posts, and to really engage your audience. And there's some amazing tools now within Facebook where you can really highlight who you want to reach, when you want to reach them. It's really nice because you can set up your posts for an entire week, and then you can just sit back and let them, you know, post as they go throughout the week on that on the calendar. Instagram is actually, with Snapchat, especially if you're looking for millennial reach, both of those are very successful and of course are continuing to grow. Instagram's kind of cool because it's more visual. You use a lot of photos or infographics to really reach people. You can also tie your Instagram and your Facebook together. Constant contact, still tried and true, especially if you're reaching people. You know, some of the sites like Google Mail and others will pull out, you know, when they know that it's going to be, what's it called, kind of like a lot of different mail coming through in one. They're now breaking it out. So sometimes people are missing because they think it's spam. And so you've got to be careful how you, one, title some of your subject lines and how you want to reach people. And I actually know people in some organizations that instead of sending out mass, they break them down into categories. So they might just have email categories for 100 email addresses, and then they send them out, and then they have like another 100. And it's just different ways to try to break some of these systems that are blocking people from actually reading your email. So again, constant contact's good. What's the other mail that we use?
MailChimp we use a lot.
MailChimp is good.
And to tag onto that, something with the email list programs, MailChimp, Constant Contact, Vertical Response is another popular one. What Jim was talking about with segmenting your list is great, not just for avoiding spam, but it's also a really easy way, relatively easy. You have to manage your list. You have to go in and actually put things into their categories, which can be time consuming, but it's worth it on the front end. And so if you are trying to reach, you know, donors who've been with you a long time, you can have that list. If you're trying to reach brand new donors who've donated to you for the first time ever this year and you really want to cultivate them, they can have a list. And you can send each of them a slightly different email, which can really help you meet your goal in a relatively simple way.
Very true. Twitter still works, still not hugely popular here locally, but it's still a nice way. And again, you can tie your Twitter to your Facebook, to your Instagram, all that can kind of tie together using Hootsuite and other different apps to help manage that and make it a little bit easier. We talked about board participation, tool, talking points for your board of directors. Again, this sometimes gets overlooked by a lot of organizations, but you've got a board of probably anywhere between, what, 10, 25 people that are going to be your biggest supporters, right? They believe in you, they're committing to your organization at least once a month for a couple hours, so why not put them to work? So providing talking points can really help board members so they understand what to say and what to do in promoting your campaign. Placing an ad in the Columbian. Now there's numerous ways to use the Columbian. You can go big and you could take over their homepage and you can do a major ad by running it for 24 hours. You can do impressions where they're just smaller ads on their page to promote. You could use their calendar feature, which is free, where you could just sign up to be featured in the Columbian's calendar. And they also have like one that's catered to the business community. And now I heard they're going to do a sports one where it's just email blasts that go out, a sports email and a business email that you can also advertise in separately.
And that's, one will note that Jim was mainly talking about the Columbian's online channels.
Correct.
They do still have a paper newspaper. I don't know if you guys heard that.
Yeah.
But subscribe to your local newspaper and keep local journalism alive. Sorry. Really, especially if you have a very small budget, then the Columbian's online advertising is probably more bang for your buck. But also something to look into if you're not already aware of it, Columbian does have a community partnerships program where they will work with you, and a number of local organizations have taken advantage of this, and it's a quarterly donation program that the Columbian uses to fill ad space that they're not able to sell in the paper. And so they work with this nonprofit. They usually do 3 or 4 in a quarter, and you build some ads and send them to them. And when they have open space, they run your print ad. And so if you haven't already heard about that from the Columbian, contact them. You would have to be able to create the ads and create the messaging, and you wouldn't be able to pick when and where the ads run. But it's it's something wonderful the Columbian has done to help support our nonprofit community.
And that goes back to that yearly, getting your message out on a yearly basis. It's something, it might be full around the holidays, but if you get in there, summertime, spring, it's always that word of mouth, and keeping in mind, this is a yearly campaign. You want to keep that branding alive all year long. Also, we don't want to just focus on the Columbian because this is a whole Clark County and beyond program. So think of the Reflector newspaper. They have some great deals for advertising. Campus Post. There's channels across the board. There's also little, I hate to say little, but there's the Daily Insider, which is kind of, again, catered to kind of your downtown, your Vancouver. There's Clark County Live. They do a lot of great promotion, and the people that follow those blogs really follow them. And they really look to them for the events and the happenings that are going on in our community.
Columbia River Reader.
Yes.
Exactly.
That's Columbia River Reader, also the Senior Messenger, which is huge, very successful. So again, there's so many different avenues. There's a great family magazine that if you notice here, like the Vancouver Clinic, or maybe at a doctor's office, you'll see that magazine. And I've been noticing a lot more schools are utilizing that, and that's been a really great way to go.
And these are also channels that you can not only pay to advertise in, but many of them do write articles, so you can also pitch stories to them and send your press releases to them as well. And that's a way to get earned media, which, yay, you don't have to pay to play.
And again, Tubble mentioned print, the Columbian, but also print mailers, doing a direct mail piece. It still works, when you look at campaigning, which we do a lot of that, people still spend a lot of money on direct mail pieces. And nowadays, just like everything, they really come down in price. Sometimes people don't even want to look into it because they think, oh, we just don't have the budget, we don't have the money. But I really encourage you to check, look at prices. We'll be even willing to talk to you about connecting you to the right people, but it's not too expensive as it may have been a few years back. Facebook has another channel that is, it's really being utilized more and more, and that's Facebook Live. And we worked with a few nonprofits last year that incorporated Facebook Live into their day event, their Giving Day event. And we really encourage you to look into utilizing Facebook Live. Because it's new, Facebook will give your site some extra bumps and promote it within numerous channels, because they really want our areas, especially our region, which is still new and not being utilized as much as it is, say, in Vegas. When I was down in Vegas last week for a conference, I was just shocked at how many people use Facebook Live. For example, in the room like this, there would be about 5 people Facebook Living right now, and the speakers were not even as entertaining as us. And so it was shocking to me how much that's utilized. And so Facebook will really kick up your impressions within Facebook to your followers, especially in this area, because they want more people to get sucked into using it. And so it's something to use, it's something to think about. And of course, you've got Instagram Live, which is another piece. You've got Twitter now that's going live, YouTube's going live. So everybody's kind of getting into it. But I would still recommend where your base is. So if it's Facebook and you have the most followers on Facebook, let's say you do, then that's where I would utilize your Facebook Live. And again, when we get to storytelling and the day of events, we can talk a little bit more about it. So tying together too, what Temple mentioned with key messaging, it's so important to think about who, again, on your list, who do you want to reach? Because a direct mail piece will not reach a millennial, right? So if you're reaching the millennials, then you got to think, where do they play? That's where I need to be. And so that's where it's so important to look at your campaign. If you're with the school, right, Eddie Allen, you want to think about, how do I get my classrooms engaged to play, right? Because if my classrooms get engaged, if you're with a school or if your nonprofit's tied to youth, that means your parents are going to play. Because those little kids are going to come home, mommy, we got to do this because it's a competition, right? So you got to think about all the different channels, how you can utilize them, and then what tools you want to use to make them successful. Anything to add? You're speechless.
That was the most amazing thing I've ever heard.
She's never heard me speak.
No, yeah, and I would just to reiterate what Jim said about all the different channels with social media, especially. It's so, and hopefully you've heard this before. It's so easy to be overwhelmed and say, okay, I've got to be on Snapchat, I've got to be on Twitter, I've got to be on Instagram, I've got to be on Facebook, I've got to do all this and this and this and this, and I actually also have a job to do. What the heck am I supposed to do? You don't have to do all of it. Pick the one or two things that are where your audience are and that are what you feel you can confidently do, and focus on those and get really good at them. Something we tell a lot of organizations if they're just starting out and they're like, okay, so we got to do Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or this and this. Pick one. Pick one and get really good at it and build an audience there, and then add on to it. Maybe something you could do with your Give More 24 is if Facebook is good for you, if that's strong, it's a place where you do have an audience, maybe use this as an opportunity to build that audience, solidify it, but then also maybe grow into Instagram or grow into Twitter, that sort of thing. Be selective and choose to do something well rather than worrying about trying to do everything.
Great point. So at this point, before we get into the calendar piece, any questions on those four quadrants and what we discussed so far? Yes?
Question about Facebook Live. When I have people putting out on Facebook Live, I find it to be, like, I lose interest so fast because it's basically camera on face and they're just talking to you. Unless they're a great speaker, it's just a little like, so what can we do to make more of it? You're kind of laughing about
No, I'm just like, you're speaking specifically to the stuff of his you've seen, right? No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I actually try to stay away from the face because I do agree. It's not,
And
it's not
right
present.
here.
I know, and they're like right here and they're just talking at you and you're like, oh my gosh.
So that's something we'll get to when we talk about the storytelling too, which is figure out what story you want to tell. Don't waste your time and don't waste other people's time. So you're absolutely right. And in case you didn't hear it over here, she was talking about some of the Facebook Live stuff she's seen, which is less than impressive. You know, and it may just because somebody has the camera right on them and you're like, your face is too close to me. Or it's kind of boring because they are just filming a seminar they're at and you can't really hear the speaker, you don't know what's going on. So do think about what you want to communicate, the story you want to tell. A very short, very effective Facebook Live is much better than a long and involved one where someone's got to wade through 20 minutes to find the gem. So if you're going to, you know, say there's an event happening, like just kind of off the top of my head saying, say you're doing an event, think about Facebook Living the highest point of the event. Sort of plan it out in your head before you start filming it.
Oh, it's almost totally right, because with Facebook Live, so many times it's, you know, you're live the moment you press, you know, go live. And so people are sitting there fidgeting and trying to set it up and you're kind of like, what's going on? And so we've actually, just for our kind of gathering data, I've run a couple interesting tests, and I will say that babies are huge. When I have Remington Facebook Live, I cannot believe how fast it'll go to like 500 views in maybe like 30 minutes. This weekend, I actually had somebody that was sending me footage from the Seattle to Portland bike ride, and they would go Facebook Live, or they would actually film live and send it to me. I would put it out there, and it was interesting because you could kind of, in that setting, you can cut and edit to make sure it's the good stuff that you're putting out there. And it was just shocking to see how fast people really engaged in following something that actually has action to it. But you're totally right, because then we've also Facebook Live campaign events where someone's speaking and you would have maybe 20 people, and they're just like, oh my gosh, what is Jim doing to my wall?
I didn't even go to that in person, or I'm putting that on Facebook.
Correct. Yeah, it's a great point.
Yeah, and when in doubt, practice too. I mean, clearly when you're on Facebook Live, practicing means you're live, but your phone also has a video. So practice kind of framing something, using the video function on your phone, and just take a little time to do that. It's worth the effort, it's worth the time, it doesn't take long. Also, if you've got your public, your group Facebook, before trying to Facebook Live on that, do it on your own and test it out and let your friends know I'm using you as a guinea pig. Tell me if this worked.
Thomas is totally right. And just a couple of things, and we'll get into this a little bit more in detail. But let's say you're at the food bank, right? You could have the executive director or one of the volunteers just say, we're live at the food bank, check out the work, they're in here bagging, the groceries, and then you just slowly, because a lot of times it's like, because it's just a blur, but you just super slow, as awkward. I mean, it might be awkward. Why don't we all practice? This is how you want to do a war pan, right? And then film that, because that kind of stuff, people really will be engaged. Share House, when they're having their events that are happening, and you've got all these children lining up, whether it's to see Santa Claus or to pick up, personal items or whatever it may be. That's awesome. Now, granted, there's also going to be a clause that you're going to have a lot of children that might not be able to be videotaped, especially live. So you've got to work through that with your organization and people involved.
But clearly, if you're an organization that works with children, you are completely set for that and have all of your releases and know exactly what to do, right?
There you go.
Cool.
All right.
So now to talk a little bit about the actual calendar. This is basic project management, which is easy for me to stand up here and say. I know that when you're in the middle of it, you're like, oh my God, this thing's coming up in 2 months, and what the heck do we do to get ready for it? But like planning any event, whether it's a big fundraiser, whether it's a small fundraiser, whatever it is, start at the day of and work backwards. And there is a really good calendar in the digital communications guidebook that the Community Foundation put out. When we looked at that, we basically said, well, they kind of nailed that. So we're just going to take pieces of that and put it into our slides because it's really, really good. So if you haven't looked at that yet, please do. If you looked at it a while ago when it first went out, look at it again. But basically, it kind of chunks out what you should be doing. So start with the event and think about what has to happen on that day, and then start to move backwards. So some things that could occur on the day of your Give More 24 event would be making sure that your homepage on your website promotes what you're doing and has a link to how to come and donate to the Kimbia page. A day of action email that you can write in advance, but you want that to go out on the day of, possibly more than one to go out on that day. Regular updates on your different social media challenges on your blog, if you have one of those. Reminding the donors about the different prizes, if you've chosen to focus on one of the different prize categories of like give during this time and get the prizes. Reminding your donors that that's what you want them to do. Specific targeted asks to individuals or to your sectors on Facebook or social media. If you're having a specific event, that event will occur on that day, one would presume. Posting event pictures, so also using all of these channels that we've talked about to really be active that day and show what's going on. Encouraging other people to share things they like. That's something especially too where your board members, volunteers, and staff can come in. And you can, with somebody like a board member or a dedicated volunteer, you can also make that specific ask of, we're going to share these things, now you do too. Please go do that for us. And that helps get your reach a little bit broader. And of course, make it fun.
What I love about this, and Tel was right on, when you're planning a wedding, you plan the wedding, right? And then you start setting up, what's the colors? What's it gonna look like? What's the invitations? What's the theme? And so really, so many organizations that we work with, it's always shocking when they have like these huge plans and we're gonna have the best event, we're gonna do this, this, and this, but they're still back here 3 months out. They're not actually putting themselves in that day. What's it gonna look like? What are people gonna experience when they walk in? Or what is your theme and message gonna be when they go to our website or the Facebook? And so you wanna live in that moment, picture it, and then you start planning backwards. And so that's one of the reasons why we try to really hit on start at the end, work back.
Absolutely. And, some things like say, and even if you're not having a physical event, even if you're not having people to your place or going out and doing anything, if it's going to exist all online, that's nonetheless a Give More 24 event that you do need to plan for and a campaign that you will need to figure out. If you are having an event and there's a dunk tank, great. Figure out everything you need around that dunk tank, and then you work backwards and, when do I have to order it? All those kinds of basics of when you're planning an event. So this I found when I was doing Give More 24 with a nonprofit, the 3 days out, the kind of just the few days right before the event was actually the most complicated for me to figure out, because you've been planning, you've done all this advance work, you are getting ready, you're going to be set for the day, adrenaline's going to carry you through, but in those few days right before is when a lot of the details really do start to fall into place, and is when you actually need to have your act a little bit more together than one might think. And that is like all the stuff, like all the board and staff outreach language, all the things that you want them to do. This is a great way to use your board members, whether you're a staff member here or a board member who is going to be taking this message back and motivating the troops. Board members do want to help. Volunteers do want to help. But they also really want to be told what to do. Even the ones who act like they don't, and I know you all know who I'm talking about, they still want to know what to do, and giving them good explicit directions so they feel really clear and confident about it is going to be one of the most useful ways you can spend your time. Take the time to write a really good message for them, to send an email that is really explicit about what you're looking for from them and motivating them to be a part of your success. If you want to start like a visual countdown, like kind of the 3, 2, 1 days, that sort of thing on your homepage, getting your social media, starting to get it ramped up so people are ready to see everything from you on the day of, reminding folks of your story, setting your goals. All of these kind of reminder and small details are the things that you should be working on in that week running up to the event.
Question.
Yes.
When you say homepage, are we talking about the Facebook homepage?
I think we were talking about like the website. Yeah.
Website.
And that's something you can set up depending on how your website is set up. You could, if a lot of folks are using WordPress, there are these wonderful templates that you have and these themes that allow you to have nice big banners. And you could change the banner every day to show like we're almost, 3 days out, 2 days out, 1 day out. You don't want to do it like 14 days out because, oh my God, how tedious. But a few days beforehand to sort of build up the energy.
And for Facebook, you could change your cover photo, on your wall. And really you could do that probably mid-September to really start getting people talking about it. And early September, you'll want to already start posting, which we're going to talk about here, I think, in the next one.
Question.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're going to put an ad in the Columbian, you're talking about 3 days before. Do you put the ad in 3 days before, or do you put the ad in the morning, show up the morning of the event?
You mean for the actual ad when it will run?
Yeah, if you're going to spend some money on an advertisement, maybe you've done other advertising before, but do you advertise 3 days before in the Columbian, or do you advertise that morning in the Columbian?
I would say 3 days before.
Yeah, and it kind of, if you're looking at doing like a homepage takeover at the Columbian, so it's going to be on their homepage and right there, that would be the day of. If you're looking at print advertising, looking a little bit further out, and actually also one of the things that your marketing consultants will tell you is buying one ad is often a waste of money.
Correct.
But doing an ad campaign to get multiple views, all the research shows that people take 6 to 10 impressions to actually remember that they saw something. So thinking about like you want an ad on the, say it's online, you want the ad on the day of, but you also want one leading up. The Daily Insider, which Jim mentioned earlier, is a great place to advertise, and they have a good nonprofit rate. If you are subscribers to the Daily Insider, it's sort of a daily news news email with highlights from around the community. They have little boxes and you can buy them by the month, so they're there the entire month. So thinking about things like that, but you need to say, okay, where do we want to be when, and then how far out do we need to actually plan and book those and design the ads too.
So, and also talking print for the Columbian, and that's where my mind went. Tuesday is a very popular day for print. Wednesday, another popular day, and then Thursday's a slow day. So Thursday would be your day of giving. So I would recommend you would want it in the paper Tuesday. For sure, you don't want to do Monday. It's very overlooked. You could do Sunday and promote as a coming up. Sunday, as you know, is one of their #1 days for print. So again, you got to kind of look at that little strategy of, if I'm only going to go on the Columbian, and Temple's right, if you're going to go on the Columbian, you got to sit down with them now and schedule that out. If you even want to go online, you really want to schedule that out now with them and lock in those days. And especially the day of, because you may be competing with a lot of other nonprofits. When you look around the room, if you're all thinking of going online on the Columbian, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had another question. Maybe I missed this because you talked about it at last week's training. But as far as effective communication channels, as I understand from the community report, or at least the 2015, the most effective ones seem to be emails. And we've used emails a lot and linked to the Facebook, and have not been linking to the website because we've not found the website that many people could look at. Now, has that changed? Is that a real effective communication?
On the website, I would say that email, social media, other channels are becoming more popular and more effective, but also if your website doesn't have robust content that people are going to want to go see, then they're not going to go see it. So if you do want to start to train people to also look at your website, something you can do with your emails is most of these programs have a function where you can do a teaser bit of your article in your newsletter. So you don't actually have the entire thing in the newsletter, and you have to click through, which then you have to set up the back end for it, but it's really, I can do it, so I know it's easy to do. But you click through and it takes you to a blog post on your website. So the full content you put on your website before you put it into your newsletter, so then when people want to read more of the article, they head to your website. So that's a way to get your traffic up there. So we're not really saying like, just do this or just do that. It is all integrated, and you're going to have the most success if you find ways to pool those together.
One thing that I usually share when we're talking, in a more campaign format or political format, is about 20 years ago, brochures were big, right? So you would show up and you'd have your brochure. Here's our brochure of our nonprofit. Well, I like to tell people your website is basically your brochure. It doesn't change a lot. You might update it with your events, but that's kind of the staple. That's everything about your organization. What's the living and breathing, the changing, is your social media. So people want to see, if you're a candidate, who you are, what you're like, when you're not just the politician. Go to the Facebook page, and that shares, your engagement, how you're out in the community. So from a nonprofit side, it'd be the same thing. What you're doing, who you're helping, who you're serving. But when you go to the website, you might have a couple of photos and things, but that's kind of your staple. And again, like Temple said, I would send them to both. I mean, really, you want to engage people to know who you are, what you're about. You also want to capture as many people as possible, which Temple's going to talk about in a few about Facebook, because those are the people that you can reach outside of your circles. Email is great, and it's a great way to reach people. But what makes email, you have to have the email addresses, right? So there are people that are already probably going to be connected to you unless you pay some money and, go out and spend some money on getting some email lists. So social media helps you reach outside of those circles and hopefully gather those emails, and then you can send them your email updates.
So now moving more than 3 days out, what do we have next?
Oh, wait a minute, Eddie, I think you had a question.
I'm trying to follow along. So if you're going to run an email Give More 24 campaign, you're going to want to drive them to your Give More 24 URL and not your website. correct? I mean, you're not gonna go back to your website and then link to your
Correct.
Give More. I just wanted to be, that was a little confusing.
Yes, and I also haven't looked at the setup for this year, but as I recall, there is also programming language to embed the Give More link to your website. So if you drive them to your website and the first thing they see when they go there, click here to donate, and then it takes them to the giving page, then you've not only gotten them to, it's not multiple steps for them. It seems very clear and simple, but it also drives your SEO because people are going to your site.
Because you want them to go to your site to see all the other things that you guys might
I don't
offer.
necessarily
Yeah.
need them to go to the website, I need them to go to the Give More 24 URL. That's what I'm saying.
Right, and what we're saying is double your bang by embedding that into your website so that they get there by going to your site.
Oh, no, okay, yeah, it's gonna be on my website, I thought you were saying, go to your website and then have them go to Give More 24.
How many clicks?
I would just say, go to your website, but have that embedded, and then, of
Yeah.
course, when they're ready to give, then they can click it.
It's language that embeds it. So like you're on the email and it says, click here to find out more about our Give More 24 campaign. They go to a site that says, here's our Give More 24 campaign, click here to donate, which you would get anywhere.
So would it be more practical, like the days out, like the email that you're saying, like go to your website and the day have the give now button that takes you to the direct link to it?
Yeah, and that's actually, since the site doesn't go live until the day of the event, if you do this so that they're going to your website, you can have a coming soon. You can create the language and the imagery and the message that you want of, we go live in 24 hours, stay tuned for more information, come back here to donate, so that whenever anybody goes to those social media posts, those emails that you're sending out too early, they're still getting the message of, please come back.
Because you wouldn't want to have two links in your email the day of, right? You just want to ban.
Correct.
That is correct.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So 1 week out, largely the same, continuing to build the pieces. 1 week out is a great time to have your staff and volunteer board member meeting of here's how it's all going to go, what questions do people have, figuring out those details, making sure everybody is assigned, coordinating any of the media appearances, making sure that your final reminder press releases have gone out, preparing a lot of your day of stuff. One of the things that is a really good use of your time a week or so out is starting to pre-prepare Facebook posts, those email messages, so that on the day of, when you've got so much going on, you don't have to go in and make all that stuff. You have to go to the draft and make sure that it's updated and then hit send. Or in the case of a Facebook post, you've already scheduled it, so just review them on the day of and make sure they're all doing what you want them to do, and then they go out on their own. So a week out is a great time to prepare for that day of stuff.
Any questions on the week out? And as Temple mentioned, I mean, one piece that sometimes gets overlooked, that press release, getting those things in order and ready to go. Again, building that relationship with whatever media channel you want to use so that it's kind of in the hopper and ready, so you can just press go and you're not stressing out at the last minute. 1 month out.
And this is where, and we're coming up on it, we're just a couple months out now. So a month out is when you can start the trickle of inundating your audience. So starting to change your profile pictures on social media, your cover photos, your website cover photo, starting to do some posts on social media. At this point, it shouldn't be the only thing you're posting. You should still be going with your general social media plan, but starting to put stuff out there, teasers of what's to come. Like if you're going to have an event, this event is coming up, please join us, we're really excited about it. Just starting to get that material out there.
And when it talks about getting your champions involved, the people that really believe in your organization, this is a way to save a little bit of money, especially instead of spending it on ads on Facebook. You can set up to have, maybe 20, even 25 people share your post about Give More 24, and then it basically breaks out into so many different channels, and that can kind of help save a little bit of extra money that you might want to use on the day of when you really want to start pushing people to give.
Mm-hmm. And this would be where you're crafting your press releases, if you're gonna have any op-eds, maybe have some people send letters to the editor for the Columbian talking about what an awesome organization you are and to give to them. Like those are great things to do. Also, whether you've got the earned coverage and the media stories now, or they've happened over the course of the year and you've been collecting them, this is a great time to start to use some of that stuff as it relates to your story and the key messages you want to put out, to put on your Facebook and kind of start reminding people of how awesome you are. I'm on the board for the Houck Foundation, and they just got a great article about a therapy dog that will be starting the year with the kids this next year that the Houck Foundation provided the funding for. And it was an awesome article about this dog. So basically like pulling that and hanging on to it because it's going to be awesome for fundraising. It's great now, it's great coverage now, but it'll be great for the future too as the Houck Foundation wants to showcase the work that it's been doing.
All right. That's
Yeah, to put that would be like today, I think. So again, this is all that really basic stuff. You've got your event, you've got your messages, you know where you want to go. Now, how do you get there? What is the stuff that needs to be done well in advance? Planning the specific activities, which we'll get to it at the later session. Creating your Facebook event if you're having an event. If you are doing any mail, if you are doing direct mail because that works for your audience, or if you're mailing invitations to any specific event, now would be the time to be producing those and getting ready to have them in the mail.
Any questions? All right, we thought it'd be kind of fun to show you guys a tool that we use and that we think it comes in so handy in our company because the three of us are kind of off doing, our own things. I mean, we're running all over the place, and it's so that we can kind of stay focused on our tasks at hand and our goals, and it basically sets up kind of a calendar of who's going to do what and when, and it's called Asana, and it is free, and it's a great calendar and project tool. And so it kind of looks like this. We're just going to show you a couple slides to give you an idea, and if Temple wants to pop in, if there's any thoughts there.
Yeah, sure. And this is one of many kinds of things you can use. We want to be clear that we use the free version of Asana, and we don't get any kickbacks for it. But we have found that we really like it, and it's helpful to us. There are other programs like Basecamp or other ones out there. Asana is one of the few that has high functionality for the free version of it. So that's why we like it.
So just to give you an idea, the way it's set up is you can have on the side the projects that you're running. So you could have, very many projects within your organization. One of them could be GiveMore 24. And then you can customize your different tasks to what day and what's upcoming. And then what's kind of cool is it breaks down where you can decide who's going to do what the day it's due. And then even within the tasks, you can have subtasks for other people. So for example, when we're working with a nonprofit and maybe we're working on a logo or a brand or some kind of content, we would break it down. Nolan would have his tasks for designing the logo. And then within those tasks, Temple would have to work on the content. When she's done, she checks it off. We all get a message letting us know that she's done that job. And so it's just a very easy way to keep everybody basically in line and up to speed on who's doing what. And when it comes to something like GiveMore 24, this, could be a huge opportunity for your organization to kind of keep everybody set up so they know what to do and when.
Yeah, and you can go in and you can look at your tasks and it says, this is due today, this is due tomorrow. The one in red was due 3 days ago. Why didn't you do it, Temple? That never occurs. And something too that we love about Asana is that when you check off a task, this isn't an active slideshow, but Nolan actually pointed this out to us, which made me use Asana a lot more and start being on time and doing my tasks when I was supposed to. When you click the task that you have completed, you get a sparkling unicorn with a rainbow going across your screen. I kid you not, it's the most amazing thing. I'm a very incentive-driven person, and I'm basically like, are you one of those people who like makes a list of things to do just so you can check them off?
There it is.
You will love this.
You will.
Seriously.
All right, that brings us to the end of round one. Any questions, comments, concerns, or we will be available during the break if you have anything that you'd like to ask. Yes?
Asana, is that to manage from a mobile device, or is there also a desktop?
Both.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Yep, so you could use for your mobile, your iPad, or any kind of tablet.
And it syncs up really nicely.
It's really nice, yeah. Very cool. And you can get your email, update. So if somebody completes a task, an email will be sent to you as well, letting you know. So that's very handy. Any other questions? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick, I believe, 10-minute break.
Yep.
So we're a little ahead of schedule.
And we'll do storytelling and messaging next.